All right, now, everybody. Quiet, listen to me. We're going to start a show. Now, some of you people have been with me before. You know it's going to be a tough grind, but we're going to have a show.
And hello. It is our Martin Luther King's Day show. I don't think there's an apostrophe S. I think it just goes Martin Luther King Day. MLK to others. I like the full moniker, Martin Luther King Jr. A lot of people go for Dr. King. That's solid too, I think, Dr. King. You wouldn't call him MLK to his face. Maybe you would. The remarkable civil rights leader, talk about headwinds during the time he was making a difference in this country. Wow. Great to have you here. Anthony Davis, our favorite Britisher, joins today. And it's True Crime Corner today at the bottom of the There's no better way to honor the memory of a great civil rights leader than with the True Crime Corner. I'm sure you'll agree. We have an author who has written an interesting book about a guy who had it all, lost it all, and then has now gotten it back. And Karen Dawn joins us today as well. Karen reports on issues with animals and just the world of animals worldwide. So we'll get to all of that. Smash the like button like your boss.
Smash it with your iron rod.
Saw the Eagles and Steely Dan this weekend, by the way. And I mentioned this to my baby boomers. Cindy, big shout out.
Big shout out.
For a super sticker getting us started. Thank you. Baby boomers know Steely Dan and the Eagles. That's a boomer show. And it was great. I mean, I could have left after Steely Dan. I would have been happy. Now, Walter Becker, who's half of Steely Dan, has passed away. So you have Donald Fagen, who's the other half, obviously just brilliant, with these jazz harmonies meet rock, right? And then there's a break, like 15 minutes or something. There's a line about a mile long to get into the men's bathroom. And then there's a line probably twice as long to get in the ladies' bathroom. We go back into the arena, and the Eagles come on stage. And that was pretty great. And I will tell you, and this is the case with most things, Kim, and this is a flaw in me, and if I ever get back into therapy, it'll be on the long punch list of things I'd like to clean up about my psyche. But maybe others can relate to this. I just don't want to go anywhere or do anything most of the time. I want to watch my football. I love my football. Give me and I will reluctantly go into the gym while a football game's on. But otherwise, like don't you want to watch something else? It doesn't work.
But then once you go to a concert like Steely Dan and the Eagles or whatnot, afterward you think, I'm really glad I did that, right?
Thank you. And that's the point. Now imagine this. Well, you're a rock concert guy.
Oh, I go to so many shows.
Yeah, you go to tons of shows.
I mean, I've always gone to a lot of shows, but yeah, last year I really went to a lot, or 2 years ago I really went to a lot of them. I was going like 2 a month.
And I'll tell you, I think that's a terrific idea. I mean, those who get out and do things, that's what life is. Yeah. My God, but there's another philosophy, which is, no, if you enjoy sitting on the couch and watching football and drinking wine and texting with your buddies, then that's what life's about. I mean, there's no judgment. Oh, because you're not climbing Mount Kilimanjaro, you're not getting the most out of life. I mean, it is, I think Tony got more out of life last year because he was going to these concerts.
Well, a lot of them for me is like, I'm old. And it's like, and these bands are older than me, and it's like, how many shows they got left in them? If I want to see them live, this is it. Right. There's not too many chances left. So. And
a lot of that same thinking went into me when it came to the Steely Dan Eagles concert. But and I do love the live music because the riffs and the stuff they do, and Joe Walsh playing with the Eagles, and he does his riffs. And my first album that I ever owned, I got 2 albums as a gift. and I'll never forget it. Fire and Rain from James Taylor and the James Gang Rides Again, Joe Walsh. And when Joe Walsh played a cut from that album, Funk 49 is the name of the track, from this James Gang Rides Again, it hit me in my heart. You know, it's a wild thing. Music is transcendent. And it was a really special night. So I went from, going, I don't care. I don't want to go. It's a pain, to being so glad. And this is the other thing. This particular show, my good friend took me for my birthday, and we sat in, I think, the fifth row. And Joe Walsh, who was the guy who I just, again, adore, he's right in front of me. And so for me, it was like being a kid. It was just really, really cool. But all my boomers, you know how that music hits us, That Steely Dan and Eagles, Peaceful Easy Feeling, Take It Easy, Heartache Tonight, New Kid in Town, Hotel California. Yeah.
You mean all the music you can now hear in an elevator? That kind of music?
How dare you? I am a
Yeah, because it's not. Those aren't shopping in the grocery stores anymore. They've already. Those are
that's right. They've already cycled out of that.
Who is having that conversation?
Now they're playing Journey in the grocery store, right?
It's like if I walk in a grocery store, I'm like 90s music.
Oh my God! All right. I'll clear this courtroom. Let's get started.
The Mark Thompson Show.
I was looking at the rundown. Wait a minute. I'm looking at the rundown and I see, could it be Kim? My favorite Britisher is joining us now from the Midas Touch Network. I know. Everyone up, damn it, come on.
It's too much.
It's Mother Britain. Why
much.
can I not hear Anthony Davis? I cannot hear him. Is there a reason for that?
A British person will not introduce themselves in this way. Just saying.
I didn't have his level up. I didn't have his level up high enough, or Tony, you didn't have it up. I was obliterating him with the music. What did you say, Anthony Davis?
I just said that this is a very American introduction to a British person. I can't think of a British person that would introduce themselves in the same way.
Well, I like over the top production. So
it's the American way.
Yes, exactly. You can never go too big.
Yeah.
First, I want to announce to my audience, which I think does on some level overlap with your audience, that you've made an adaptation, change, adjustment, and improvement, I'm going to use the word because I like it, to the 5-Minute News, which you do every day.
Well, when I started 5-Minute News in 2019, the big thing was the audio podcast, and here we are 5 years later, and now the big thing is the video podcast. So I've just switched it around, so now I make 5-Minute News for video. You can still listen to it as you did before as audio, but I am talking to the camera as opposed to talking to the microphone. That's kind of the difference.
Yeah, well, I mean, I just like it. I like being able to see you.
Faces for radio, celebrating.
No, I don't know. I think you look slick.
I tell you something that is interesting, though, Mark. When I do 5-Minute News for the camera, I don't make any mistakes. But when I was recording it for audio, I made all these mistakes. And it just goes to show that psychologically, when you know that you're being watched, that you kind of have to just, do your newscasting and do it in a way that is going to, it's going to be usable, right? Because it's like, it feels like you're live. Whereas when you're recording just the audio, if you screw up, then you just stop and, do another one or, retake. But that means you've got loads of editing to do. So this is actually a very interesting version because it's much easier to make because, you're on camera. This was on Thursday. I've been so sick for 2 weeks. I haven't made as many episodes as I would have liked.
Well, it's very funny you say this because I said to Anthony, not to interrupt, but just to make the point that you must have really been sick.
Yeah.
I said, I'd love to have you on, and this was last week.
Yeah.
He said, I've got whatever you had. I guess it really laid you out.
I think it's the RSV/COVID/flu, and it's all kind of mixed together these days. I've had it for 11 days, and I'm still sick. If I could do my cough for you, and you'd be very impressed.
I've never had anybody impress me with a cough, but I would maybe toward the end.
Maybe towards the end. We'll save it, yeah.
We're going to give you cred for working, for playing hurt. But I don't notice it on your newscast, I have to say. You conceal it quite well. So anyway, thank you for being here.
We're all good at that. That's one thing that we're very good at.
This is true.
It's an industry-wide issue.
Now, I want to ask you about a couple of... First of all, let me just mention the Iowa caucuses that go down today.
Yeah.
This is another, in my judgment, ridiculous part of the American electoral process. It's not even really a secret ballot. You have to, you essentially horse trade in gymnasiums and churches, et cetera. I wonder if you can give me a note on that. I don't see it important per se, but maybe you can tell me, it seems a bit of a foregone conclusion, but I guess money and these other things and maybe a bump can help certain candidates going into New Hampshire. How do you see it?
I don't really know enough about it, I'll be honest with you, but I was looking at some of the data this morning, and I see that Donald Trump is still holding 48% of the vote, and it means that despite what do you have to do to have shame fall upon you in this country, right? What do you have to do if it's not paying off a porn star or stealing classified documents or overturning an election or causing a coup against your own country or all of the above and more? Nope, still the most popular guy in the country. And it is remarkable to me that this kind of concept that you might be somebody who is substandard is just not enough to change people's views. In fact, I reposted a TikTok video this morning on Twitter or whatever it's called of one of these Trump gatherings, and the interviewer was asking these people, would you prefer a dictator like Donald Trump being a dictator or Joe Biden next 4 years? And they asked 12 different people in this video, and they were all like, we'd rather choose Donald Trump being a dictator than Joe Biden. And I was like, wow, either they don't really understand the ramifications of dictatorship, or the cult is strong with this one.
I think it really is, on some level, the former. I don't think people know what dictatorship, I don't think they understand what it's like to have, all their rights taken away. And you can talk about rights compromised under whatever, the big hand of government. But I think Americans are fat and happy, frankly. Europe, you really beat back fascism. And when I say you, I get it. It was a while ago. But I don't know if we have the cultural sense and the cultural memory, certainly we don't have, of what fascism is, authoritarianism really is.
I think that there are reminders all over Europe, not just memorials, but, in London, bomb sites where you had a row of Victorian houses, and then in the middle you'd have a new build, or a house that was built, say, in the 60s or 70s. And you'd be like, oh, well, obviously that's where a doodlebug landed, and instead of building it in the old Victorian style, they didn't have any money, so they did the best they could. The daily reminders that the city, the Blitz lasted 2 years of just constant carpet bombing of the city, and St. Paul's Cathedral still stands. So yeah, it's one of those things, you don't know what you've got till you lose it, right? And my worry is that the Americans who don't understand will really be concerned when they lose it.
The comment comes in on Milosevic, which is really a good point. It wasn't all that long ago. Yeah. We've seen it. I feel like, and then I'll move on, but just to button this point out, because it is odd. I feel as though Americans look at this authoritarianism and these governments in which there are really no civil rights for many as sort of a spectator sport kind of way they see it.
It could never happen to us.
Exactly.
Yeah. But that's because Donald Trump befriended the great dictators, right? So, whereas before we saw Putin, Xi Jinping, and Kim Jong, and Viktor Orban, and Erdogan, we saw these people as foes under any other administration. But Trump talked about them so fondly and said he was great friends with them, and gave them CDs of Elton John, and had this weird kind of bromance with these characters. And so it diluted that sense that they might be a foe. And that is my concern, is that, there are some real enemies to the United States around the world. Donald Trump chose to reverse it. There's a situation going on, which I think we're probably about to talk about, where Europe is having to prepare for the fact that Trump claimed that America would not be there for Europe in the event of war under his watch. Well, that is Putin talking. That is Trump parroting and being a mouthpiece for Vladimir Putin. He has already been compromised. You know, the genie is already out the bottle, Mark. This is the concern. So the fear of dictatorship is not just what will happen to the US and what kind of rights you might lose, like the right to vote, but the fact that the rest of the world now has become, or will become, if Trump is re-elected, completely unsafe because the US will be on the same side as the former foes of the United States.
Yeah,
it's
well
terrifying.
Said. Yeah, well said. And this, as you've suggested, has been expressed by members of the European community.
Right.
You've got the European Union's internal market chief, this Thierry Breton, saying that Trump told the European Commission president, if Europe is under attack, we will never come to help you and to support you.
Yeah.
It was really a reflection of something that a point he made early on in his presidency, which is essentially America's tired of carrying the water for NATO. NATO is something that should be done away with. He expressed these views. It's interesting how he sees post-World War II Europe and how he sees changing alliances. It's really all about money. Trump made it all about money.
And also who likes him and who doesn't like him. And, you know, if he is not jiving with Angela Merkel, who's obviously now been replaced, but you remember there was that very awkward moment in the White House where she's sitting in one chair, he's in the other. He refused to shake hands with her. She's like got a face like thunder and just can't believe it. He is like doing the, you know, staring evils down the lens. I mean, the people that he was supposed to be friends with, I mean, in England, we call it the special relationship. I don't know if you've heard that phrase before, but it's something they talk about all the time in the UK, the special relationship between the UK and the United States. And that was something that was born out of, I think, Reagan and who was Margaret Thatcher. Together, they kind of had a special relationship. But I think it started even longer before that. And so you'll hear our Prime Minister in the UK talking all the time about the special relationship. And since I moved to the US and I started asking people, do you know about this special relationship? I mean, it sounds like an affair or something, doesn't it? You know, like the UK is a mistress. Maybe it is. But no one knew what I was talking about. And this is very interesting, is that the perspective of the US's relationship with the UK and consequently the rest of Europe and NATO and, you know, member countries is that there is this special relationship, and the Yanks don't know anything about it. It's fascinating to me.
Well, it exists on another level diplomatically. I think there's a sort of relationship and connectivity on a diplomatic level that you don't find getting down to,
yeah,
you know,
it's
man
born
on the
out
street.
of the Second World War. It's born out of the fact that the Americans, you know, were eventually able to join the war effort and you know, defeat the Nazis. And
well, I'd love to someday talk about about what happened after World War II. I mean, the Russians were allies in World War II. It's a weird relationship that pivoted almost immediately, and they became the Soviet Union, and we became, you know, embroiled in a Cold War for decades. The point you were making about essentially the relationship between Trump and Europe is an important one, and I wonder if he'll make it again on the stump at any point. He embraces those things that are controversial, you know. The gotcha moments, Trump turns somehow into, no, I stand by that, you know.
Well, he doesn't have the intellect to understand about long-term relationships and diplomacy, right? So to him, it's all about short-term. You wronged me. I didn't like the way you treated me. That's why he says, oh, you know, I went to Kim Jong, I went to North Korea, and they treated me so well. It's like, well, what do you think? What do you expect? What are they going to do? Like poke you with a sharp stick? I mean, this is what is so insane about having a man who is mentally unwell being in the most powerful seat in the world. I mean, it should never have happened the first time. He is too unwell, too compromised. Aside from the personality disorder, there's a whole bunch of things wrong with him. And, you know, there should be a mental test for presidents, for candidates. because he would never have passed.
There would be. I would suggest. I love that you mentioned how compromised he was. Yeah. I was talking about that in the ramp up to the election before 2016, but I also think that his compromise, as you suggest, goes across all different aspects of who he is, from his psychology, but more to the point, he couldn't pass a background check. I mean, this is a guy who would never pass a background check. His family didn't pass a background check. As you know, he Bigfooted to get them security clearance. And then this guy who could never have passed a background check, takes truckloads of classified documents and stashes them in the bathroom and ballroom and the bedroom at Mar-a-Lago. So on trade, Europe is trying to reduce its dependencies on single nations generally, but it's disengaging in with the relationship that you talk about.
Well, it's stockpiling weapons. I mean, this is what it's going to have to do. Instead of relying on the United States as it has done, for a few generations now, it's going to have to stockpile its own weapons and operate in an isolationist fashion. It's terrifying to me, the idea that this would happen and that one man and his ego and his narcissism is the cause of all of this. But, here we are. And the problem is, fascist dictators, they get voted in legitimately. They tend not to take over power. They tend to get voted in and then they really unleash their power. And that is my concern, is that, Trump could win. Aside from the Iowa caucus, he is still the most popular of the primary candidates. No one comes close. And anyway, Trump policies are Nikki Haley policies. Trump policies are DeSantis policies. So,
well, the only thing that he has that they do not, I'd suggest, is maybe several things, but charisma. I mean, the man is charismatic. He plays to the room. His ugliness is the same ugliness that reflects. He hates the same things that a lot of his constituency hates. I want to, before I lose you, ask you about immigration. Yeah. This is a problem that is, obviously played for politics in this country. That's why neither party is able to, I think, really be committed to it. Although during Obama, there was real bipartisan legislation that was then scuttled by the GOP. But anyway, Texas officials, as the headline, block U.S. border agents from helping 3 drowning migrants. This is, again, something that happened over the weekend. 3 people, including 2 children who were seeking asylum in the U.S., drowned while trying to reach the U.S. near the border city of Eagle Pass. Texas has begun denying access to Border Patrol agents in this area. I mean, I can go on. It's a tragic story.
They're trying to make the problem worse.
Right.
They want to make the problem worse in this period leading up to the election. Mike Johnson, the new Speaker of the House, again, far-right Christian nationalist insurrectionist, admitted today that they will not get a deal on immigration and the border whilst Joe Biden is president. He said, until Donald Trump is elected president, there will be no deal. Because, as you know, money for Ukraine is tied up with, and money for Gaza is also tied up with money for the border. And, that is really Mike Johnson representing the Republican Party, really nailing his colors to the mast. They don't want to fix this problem. They just want it to get worse. And look, Greg Abbott is, he's just Trump on wheels, right? He is the most offensive, racist, and terrible person. And so, they don't care for migrants, because they have the wrong skin color, they're the wrong religion, they're, anything that doesn't match that kind of perfect white, Aryan, Christian, Republican image is to them a second-rate citizen, or immigrant in this case. Yeah, and that's the tragedy. This all goes back to racism.
Well, and of course, Abbott's the governor in Texas, of course. And he, in doing this, you're right, he's elevated this to a point where it may be an issue. And, you've got federal agents being denied entry into an area where they're supposed to be helping out at the border. Now, all of this said, Anthony, I know we've got to finish up here, but we do have a problem with immigration. We have a border that's porous, and it is creating issues, particularly
as do most countries. Most countries do.
Okay, fair enough. I just don't know, how communities that are suffering with the constant flow of immigrants who are fleeing these awful conditions. You've just seen what happened in Ecuador. It's Central Central America is really the primary flow of immigrants on our southern border, and it continues. What do we do?
Take them in. Take them all in. There's room for all of them. Put them to work. This is the thing, isn't it? It's like the elephant in the room that nobody will talk about, right? Obviously, everybody wants to manage immigration. Immigration in the U.S. is very, very strict, and I speak as an immigrant, right? It's very, very strict. I still have to wait 6 years before I can apply for citizenship as a legal immigrant. And yet, there is this, what undermines the whole debate is xenophobia and racism. So it's never a true conversation about immigration. I mean, under Biden and Alexander Mayorkas, they have increased the number of arrests, like to such an extent that they opened 3 border crossings last week, like reopened them. They're arresting more people than ever. They have more technology than ever that Mexico is now paying for. The wall didn't work, as we know. We've seen people cutting through it, climbing over it, climbing through it. I mean, that was just a joke. It was just symbolic. And so the whole thing is just steeped in Republican hatred of the black and brown-skinned person.
Let me ask you, Anthony, let me push back a little bit and say, you can't just open your border and in this continuous stream of people be integrated into your society in any kind of way that's going to be workable. You just can't do it.
You do it in the way that they are doing it, which is in an intelligent and kind of in a fashion that sticks to the law, right? And so, there is a myth that Democrats just want to let everybody in and Republicans want to close the border. And it's not as simple as that. They actually both want the same thing. Right. You need migration. You need people to come into the country and invest in the economy. You need all of that. Every country needs that because people leave the U.S. So, you've got to find that happy medium. But it's just been weaponized as a kind of racist conversation. And the reality is that there is room for people. And that if states, Republican states especially, were as generous as Democrat states, then you would be able to, bring these people in and really put them to work and give them shelter. And, there is room. It's the richest country in the world, for goodness sake.
Sure.
It's like we profit from healthcare in this country. There is room, there is money, there is funding. But it's a fake conversation that goes on in Congress. And all this stuff with like Ted Cruz, they haven't been to the border, I've been to the border. Who cares? It's got nothing to do with the photo op. The reality is you need steady migration, you need to manage it properly, and you need to stop referring to humans as vermin.
Well, you need to get Mexico to pay for that wall. I mean, that's the, they got to get Trump back because he could finish the job he started, with getting Mexico to cut that check. Anthony Davis, I'm glad you're rallying. I'd love to see more of you. I love our conversation. So congratulations on the upgrade to the 5-Minute News and as a Midas Touch host. And you're still doing your Thursday show, and you do the weekend show as well, correct?
I have the Wednesday show, which is called Uncovered.
Sorry.
And that's okay. It's you're only one day off. And I actually guessed with my wife this morning. I guessed what percentage of the planet is water. I guessed 70%. It was just a guess. And then I asked the smart speaker, and the smart speaker said 71%. And I was like,
wow.
This is such a great game.
Wow.
So you are only 1 day away, and I think that that's
thank you.
Close
Thank you
enough.
very much.
And then on Sunday we have the weekend show, and in fact on this show just gone on Sunday, we took apart Project 2025.
Oh, wow.
Myself and Alan Piper, we just disseminated it, and we literally went through it page by page. It's a 90-minute episode, but definitely worthy of a
I'll
watch.
check that out, and I'd love to talk to you. Maybe next week you can come back and actually take us through just maybe some of the highlights. That would really be great. That's for those who don't know, that's essentially the plan for the second Trump presidency.
Yeah, so the Republican plan to deconstruct the state, effectively, to break down the civil service, to fire 50,000 people, and then employ loyalists in the public sector.
It's real. It's real. Thank you, Anthony Davis. We look forward to our next visit. Take him out with some... I know, we can't resist it, can we? It embarrasses him. It's disgusting, really, when I think about it. But you are my favorite Britisher, and so you have to live with the music. I'm sorry.
I'm down. I just got my new passport, actually.
Oh, a new passport.
I got a new passport. And I hate to say this, but my old passport was a European passport, and this is my first post-Brexit passport. It's black instead of purple, and it's got the King's name instead of the Queen's name inside.
Oh, how exciting.
And it doesn't mention Europe, so it's a very sad day for the British passport, yeah.
Oh, that's very funny. All right. Anthony, let's talk soon, maybe next week. All right. Anthony Davis, everybody. Love it.
The Mark Thompson Show.
One of my favorite people. Check him out, the Midas Touch Network, and check out the 5-Minute News every day. Let me ask you what we're doing and where am I going? Tony, you're producing this thing today. It's great to have you in the mix, Tony, always.
Thanks, Tony.
I'm looking at the clock.
Yeah.
And could I do a little bit of news? Because we had a crash of a small plane in Half Moon Bay. I'd like to just get an update on that from Kim. Okay. I'm sure she's got it in her newscast. No?
I'll get it real quick.
Yes.
Oh, I know. Courtney sent me that. Yeah. Courtney's on deck. Courtney's on deck.
Hi.
Yeah. Hi.
Hi.
Yeah, I'll tell you, they've suspended the search now for survivors in this crash off Half Moon Bay.
So it's not.
So this is a plane that went down on Sunday night right off the coast of Half Moon Bay about just a little after 7 p.m. and people dining in a restaurant saw this plane go down. They were at the Moss Beach Distillery and they called out the Coast Guard came out to search. They were searching again this morning for people. They have found possible wreckage in the water, but they don't know how many passengers was aboard this plane, or were aboard this plane. So at this point, the search has been suspended.
Well, the news isn't always good, and there you go. So what should we do here, kids? I've got Courtney waiting with True Crime Corner. Mm-hmm. You have the open and close for True Crime Corner, Tony?
Yeah.
All right. Just checking.
Thanks, Tony.
You can do the news.
We have an author waiting top of the hour. We could slide him a little bit. I think we need to do some news. I think news is important.
Do you want me to go later?
No. You're fine. Everybody stay calm. Smash the like button like a boss.
Smash it with your iron rod.
Just get a hold of ourselves. No reason to panic, okay?
I'm busy, Mark.
I know. You're the one we're worried about. You've got actual stuff going on. Kim, let's do some news, and then we will get into true crime.
I'll be wicked fast.
Do what you got to do, baby. Okay. You got to get it done. Mark Thompson Show.
The Mark Thompson Show.
On the Mark Thompson Show, I'm Kim McAllister, and this report is sponsored by Tenuta Vineyards in Livermore. Well, Fani Willis, Georgia Fulton County DA, is making her first public comments after a lawsuit filed alleging an improper relationship with a special prosecutor. Willis made the comments during a Martin Luther King Jr. Day speech at Atlanta's oldest Black church. She did not mention the special prosecutor by name or confirm or deny any allegations, but she called out the U.S. Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, saying they have never met each other, yet Greene has allowed her spirit, said Fani Willis, to be filled with hate. Greene filed a criminal misconduct complaint against Willis and her special prosecutor last week. Houthi-controlled areas of Yemen are targeting U.S.-owned container vessels. Oh, that we know. But now, Monday, an anti-ship ballistic missile hit an American container ship, that according to U.S. Central Command. The U.S. said on social media the vessel reported no injuries or major damage and continued on its journey. You could say, oh, yes, and so that's the latest. The U.S. climate envoy, John Kerry, is reportedly planning to resign. The former Massachusetts senator and U.S. Secretary of State has been the American envoy for the last 3 years. That, according to the New York Times, Kerry will join President Biden's re-election campaign later this year. Pope Francis insists he is not thinking about retiring at the moment. In Rome, Giles Gibson says with the 87-year-old suffering from a number of health issues last year, there's been speculation that he could step back from his role. A third suspect now facing murder charges for the killing of an Oakland police officer. U.S. Marshals say Marquis Cooper was captured in Southern California and extradited back to the Bay Area. He is one of 3 accused in the murder of Officer Tuan Lee. Lee was working as an undercover officer when he was shot and killed while responding to a burglary at a cannabis business in late December. The court ruling, which greatly restricts the way cities can enforce an anti-camping ordinance, is going to the U.S. Supreme Court. The High Court agreeing Friday to review the case, which led to the ruling prohibiting cities from punishing people who sleep in public places when they have nowhere else to go. California Governor Gavin Newsom filing an amicus brief in this case, urging the court to clarify the matter. In a statement, Governor Newsom said the Supreme Court can now correct course and end the costly delays from lawsuits that have plagued efforts to clear out encampments and deliver services to those in need.
I mean, the deal is we have to, Kim, have places for these people to go, but those places don't include the street. I'm sorry, straight up. And that's not progressive enough position or liberal enough position, then I'm sorry. But it's just a fact that our cities are turning to these awful encampments. And if that's a result, it's not a lack of money. There's plenty of money in the homeless business. We have to get spaces that are, blessed officially for many people who are unhoused to be housed or protected. And those places should not be the streets.
Tough on crime, clear the streets, Mark Thompson.
I'm a law and order lib, baby.
Lastly, the latest police chief in Sausalito is making history. Stacey Gregory was sworn in over the weekend, making her the very first LGBTQ police chief in Sausalito history. Gregory is a 27-year-old veteran of law enforcement and acknowledged the many lesbian women who have become top cops in cities around California. She'd been serving as an interim chief for the last 2 years, and now it is official. She has the job. This report is sponsored by Tenuta Vineyards in Livermore. Let's check out the wine flight right there. Good Monday morning to you. A little red wine on a rainy cold day. I'll take it. Thank you very much. And you get 10% off for being a Mark Thompson Show listener.
10%.
Why are you yelling?
10%. Better than no percent is what I'll take.
Yeah,
Call
baby.
Rich at 925-699-4576. Make sure you ask for the Mark Thompson Why Are You Yelling Red? And you tell him, smash it.
With your iron rod.
Thank you, ma'am. And you get your 10% off. That's right. Take it where you can get it and have the wine brought directly to you, or go out to the winery and meet them and hang out and do a little tasting and have a great time.
I like to never leave my house. Just ship me those cases of wine, baby. 10% off.
925-699-4576, the number. I'm Kim McAllister. This is The Mark Thompson Show.
The Mark Thompson Show.
What up, everyone? We are happy to be with you on this Martin Luther King Day. Much going on. The Iowa caucuses, of course, happening now. The weather there is prohibitively bad. The weather in Western New York and much of the Northeast, prohibitively bad. They moved that playoff game. The Bills playing the Steelers today. They moved 2 games, and Tampa Bay is also playing. Tampa Bay had been scheduled for a Monday night, and I think the Steelers game moved because of bad weather. How about a
ban on driving out of your house? Did you see
there
that?
was a ban over the weekend. That's right. And they actually, I'll get to this Courtney thing in a minute. You got a super sticker from Luis. The deal is that in Buffalo, and we have a Buffalo viewer who sent us, Tony's probably got that, sent us pictures. We have a Buffalo view there. That is from our Buffalo viewer. This is the way they were paying people $20 an hour to clear.
Shirtless?
Yeah, he's shirtless. Yeah.
What is happening?
Yeah.
Wait, why? Why is he shirtless?
Because that is the way us men like to do things. We like to show off what total,
Oh my God.
They were
So
paying
anyway,
people to shovel the stadium before
Right.
the
So
game.
$20 an
Yeah.
hour to shovel the stadium, and those are some of the shovelers.
I'm guessing that's the best money he's made.
I don't know what you mean by that. But anyway,
Oh,
that's the word from Buffalo. I believe that is it Cindy O? Is that who sent us that? Cindy O in Buffalo. She's the best. Yeah. Thank you so much, Cindy, and all our Buffalonians. Thanks, Tony. Go Bills. Go Bills. All right. Without any further delay,
The Mark Thompson Show.
Oh, but one more delay. Courtney Louise says, "Do you want to? How can I show that?"
I don't know.
Tony. Just like that, I guess. Courtney, big shout
how
out.
nice.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, Louise, thank you
I'm
very much.
back. I know.
Very nice.
Thank you.
Courtney's got her fans.
Nice.
There was also a super chat from B.O. B.O., feel bad that you've had my name in your scroll in two places, B.O. and Brad O. And I think I'm getting overdue to kick in some money to keep my name up in lights. Yeah, I don't know. Tony does the names at the end of every show, everybody who contributes. You're muted right now, Tony. So Thanks,
Tony.
Even when you're talking, you're close to muted because you barely say anything. What is it, Tony?
I'm just saying, it's like I can't tell if they're the same person or different people sometimes.
Sure,
so I err on the side of caution and be like,
right.
Well, these
we don't
two
want
are
to get
similar.
how come I've contributed, I don't see my name. Right. So
I'd rather err on the side of caution. It's okay.
Very, very good. All is good. We update at the end of every month. If you haven't yet, please be part of our Patreon or PayPal community, themarkthompsonshow.com. Click through to either one of those hot links, and you will be part of things. And we appreciate the super stickers and super chats every day. Now, when she can make it on Mondays, we bring in Courtney, my other half, who has an obsession with true crime.
That's true.
Personally don't spark to it. She loves it. And so we do it here because I know it's a very hot genre, and I want to just exploit the genre for
There we
clicks.
go. Yeah,
Yes.
the truth comes out.
This is True Crime Corner.
Let's pay a visit to Mark's True Crime Corner.
This is not a good neighborhood. I'm scared.
Now, here's your host, Mark Thompson.
Oh, I love that scream. I love that scream. And how about it for Courtney,
Hi.
everybody? Yeah.
Hi.
Courtney, how about you?
I know it's been a long time. In fact, my avatar changed on the streaming platform, but I got to change it back.
You got to change it. That doesn't look very cool.
Well, you can't see it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's me at a art museum.
Yeah, nice touch.
There you go. It's Yayoi Kusama. It's the Infinity Room at the Broad. Anyway.
I am very impressed by
But
that.
What?
Okay.
I haven't been here in a long time, and we had discussed my showing of your birthday present.
Well,
but,
I had a birthday not that long, just like 3 weeks ago, and Courtney arranged for one of those cameos. Kim, you know how Cameo works?
I did.
Yeah. So,
while I was in other countries.
Yeah, I'm going to bring Kim back in if I can, because
that's
Kim.
pretty cool.
Yeah.
I've never actually done a cameo. So you hired somebody of celebrity status. To
Right.
say,
And she did it while we were vacationing in, we were on Central America, South America.
Mm-hmm.
And so I give her additional credit for having, stitched that together but Tony, so Courtney, did you send it to Tony or something?
Yeah, I sent it to Tony.
This is what I got on my birthday from this person on Cameo. Check it out.
Hey, Mark. It's George Santos here. A lot of people are telling me you're a liar because you say you're one age, but you look so much younger. So, happy birthday. And what's a little lie between friends? I mean, come on. What's the worst that could happen? Mark, Courtney sends this message with all the love in the world. Happy birthday. Bye.
That is real. That was really sent to me on my birthday by George Santos.
Yeah, that was real.
And thank you, Courtney. What's the best line in that is, what's the worst that could happen? What's the problem with a little lie? What's the worst that could happen?
Exactly.
Yeah. Did you write it or did he write it?
So I had a collaborator, and my collaborator and I wrote it, and I sent it at the end of November, beginning of December. But at that point, George Santos was like overwhelmed with cameos.
Sure.
So
right, he made a fortune of them.
Yeah, they had actually taken him down for a little bit. So then, anyway, but he said the script exactly, except for the last part. I did not write in my name. He what's the word? Improvised.
Yeah.
But Mark made a good point, because by improvising with my name, it made sure that it wasn't any Mark. It was Mark and myself.
Yeah, it was really, it made it super personal when he mentioned your name. Yeah, it was
I can't take full credit, but
it was pretty great.
Yeah.
Did you notice it was in a car on the waist somewhere?
Yeah, he was on a cab or something. Yeah, with a car.
So many of these to do that he's like, I'm just going to use every available moment to record a cameo.
Yeah, go ahead.
I've never used Cameo, so it cost whatever, but like it was like 2 weeks and it was the last day, and so I'm paying to like nudge him to make sure that he does this.
Yeah, every time you communicate with him, you got to pay him more.
And I'm like, I don't know if I'll have internet the next day. And then in the last couple of hours, he came through. So,
what were you going to say, Tony? Did you have something to say?
I would love to have been in the cab driver, just seeing him have like one after another, cutting one, cutting another, cutting another. It's like, what the hell's wrong with this guy? You know?
True. I was in Beverly Hills last week, and I was talking about this cameo, and this woman turned to me and she said, he was at the grill last night, and I guess he's got a celebrity fanfare of people, around him.
Yeah.
So.
Well, our time is short. It was really fun. Thank you for that. It was like the coolest birthday thing. Courtney, the time is short.
I know. I don't know what to do.
No, the urgency is there. Let's do it.
Okay.
This is your True Crime Corner.
Okay. We'll go quick. You want me to start?
I think that would be smart.
Okay. I was waiting for the music, but
we did it
played already. Yeah. So, well, I'm doing the Gypsy Rose Blanchard case, and I'm doing this because she was released from prison on December 28th. So the last couple of weeks have been filled with interviews and news around Gypsy Rose. And so I'll give some background on it and then where she is today. Gypsy Rose Blanchard was a young girl who was abused by her mother in a Munchausen by proxy case, wherein her mother had fabricated all of these illnesses that Gypsy Rose had. This is if you're
just because you mentioned it, Munchausen by proxy. These are imagined illnesses. Isn't that it? Or
yes.
Is it imagined or using illness in some way?
It is fabricating or making up an illness to create attention.
I see. Okay.
Gain financial benefits.
So the person who does it is aware that they don't actually have the illness. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And so Munchausen is when you do it for yourself, and then by proxy is when you're doing it for somebody else.
Yeah. Okay.
And so her mother, her name is
Emil Schaffhausen.
No, that's Schopausen. This is Munchausen. They're different.
Yeah, they're related. But it's actually named after an aristocrat, a German aristocrat. But
look at you with all the information.
So Claudine, this is a picture of Gypsy Rose and Claudine D.D. Blanchard. If you go back up one, so she's 24. She meets Ron. He's 17, and Dee Dee gets pregnant, and so they get married. They actually break up before Gypsy Rose is born. Her name is Gypsy Rose because Dee Dee, the mother, liked the name Gypsy, and I believe it's Rod or Ron, the father, he liked Guns N' Roses. So that is how her name became Gypsy Rose. And so the husband leaves, and Gypsy Rose is raised by her mother. Now, Dee Dee is accused at this time of killing her mom. So Dee Dee was the sole caretaker of her mom. She also served as a nursing assistant. So she had some medical background. And it's believed actually that Dee Dee starved her mom to death in 1997. Gypsy is born in 1999. So Gypsy and her mom are living in the Gulf Coast. That's where Dee Dee is from. And hurricane.
I don't mean to ask a follow-up, but starved her mom, like her mom was bedridden and she was, very good. Go ahead.
Starved her mom.
Okay.
So Gypsy Rose and her mom are living in the Gulf Coast. Hurricane Katrina happens. They go to a shelter for people with special needs, and a doctor there recommends that they move out of state. So they move to Springfield, Missouri. If you go down to the next couple of pictures, Tony, if you're watching. So here's Gypsy Rose and her mom. Gypsy Rose is allegedly getting more sick. So I have a list of illnesses that Dee Dee claims that Gypsy Rose had. But you can see like there's 17 of them.
Wow.
I know. And by the way, Gypsy Rose is young. I mean, at this time, I think she's like in her teenage years, but her mother was claiming that she had delayed development. And by that was claiming that she was mentally younger than she actually was. So she was actually lying to Gypsy Rose about her real age and lying about her real age to other people so as to continue to be able to protect her or have control over her.
Was the child in school, or was she in school, Gypsy? What's the child's name? I'm sorry, again?
Gypsy Rose.
That's
a good question. I actually don't know if she was going to school.
Okay, so the mother has this list of illnesses: epilepsy, vision impaired, hearing impaired, gastric reflux, quadriplegia, muscular dystrophy. I'm reading these for people who are listening. Anemia, hyperventilation, not everybody's watching. Asthma, allergies, mild mental retardation, leukemia, incontinence, lung disease, and heart murmur.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
she has as many as you.
So I'm rocking maybe 4. None of them are on that list, though.
So Gypsy Rose is claimed to be a very sick child. And the family is starting to be suspicious. That's actually in part why Dee Dee took the opportunity to move from Louisiana after Hurricane Katrina, because the family was suspicious that Dee Dee was making up these illnesses. Now, if you look at all these pictures that I've collected, in most of them, you'll see Dee Dee is holding Gypsy Rose's hand.
Right.
And this was another way to force force herself on Gypsy and the narrative. So if Gypsy got out of line or said something or started to present herself in a way that she wasn't sick, Dee Dee would squeeze her hand so as to control what Gypsy Rose was doing and saying.
Wow.
So you can see in almost every picture that I could find, she's somehow holding her or holding her hand. Exactly.
Wow.
So Gypsy Rose, in 2012, she was 13. She's on an online Christian dating site, and she meets a guy named Nicholas Godejohn. And so they start up an online relationship. This is Nicholas, and that is Gypsy Rose. Gypsy Rose had a fascination with Disney. So in a lot of the pictures, she's dressed as a Disney princess. She also got a lot of things like Ronald McDonald House, Make-A-Wish, Children's Hospital. So they often gifted her trips and other things based on the illnesses that her mom was alleging. There was a doctor at one point who wrote in her medical files that this was Munchausen by proxy. But Dee Dee, Gypsy Rose's mom, had access to all these medical files. And the minute that doctor wrote that, she pulled Gypsy out of that hospital and started to go less frequently to the doctor so as to control that, what was being said by that medical professional. So Gypsy meets Nick. They meet online on a Christian dating site. They have a 2-year relationship, 3-year relationship online. And then Gypsy pays for Nick to come from his house in Wisconsin to their house in Missouri to meet her mom. And she comes up with this whole plan, which is like they're going to go to a screening of Cinderella, which is the next picture. And then Nick is going to accidentally run into her mom. And they're going to meet each other. And the mother is going to start to get used to Nick. At this point, from 2012 to 2015, they've been talking about getting married. They've been talking about having kids.
I'm sorry, how old is the child now? 13?
She's 13.
And they're talking about getting married.
And 14, 15,
They're talking about what they will do in their future when they get old enough.
Exactly.
Okay, go ahead.
And so, and he's a little bit older than her, but they're roughly the same age. He has issues himself. So he's developmentally delayed. He has been arrested before for indecent exposure. He has multiple personality disorder. So he himself comes to the relationship with some challenges.
But they met on a Christian.
But they met on a Christian dating site.
Okay.
Yes. So he goes and meets her mom on March 2015, and then he returns in June in June 2015. And on June 9th in 2015, Gypsy and her mom are at home. They're doing each other's nails. And the last thing that Gypsy Rose's mom says to her is, "Please don't hurt me." And not very long after, Nick comes to the house because Gypsy has paid for him to come back to the house. He is given rope and duct tape and a knife, which Gypsy had stolen from Walmart. And he proceeds to go into Gypsy's mom's room, Dee Dee's room, and he murders her by stabbing her 17 times in the back. Wow. Gypsy hides in the bathroom. Here's the house. I've heard different stories, or at least reporting on whether or not this house was given to them by Habitat of Humanity, but this is their house in Springfield. Here's some interior shots. If you go back down, there's more interior shots. It's all pink, to describe it a little bit. It's very messy, but it's a nice, pretty white house that's there in the outskirts of Springfield, Missouri. So Nick stabs Dee Dee, as I mentioned, 17 times. He then has he and Gypsy Rose then leave the house. They go to a motel, and they're seen on camera laughing at the motel, and she's seen walking around. Now, that's all captured on film. Now, that is important because at this point, everybody publicly believes that Gypsy Rose is a quadriplegic, that she has muscular dystrophy. So they don't know that she can walk around without a wheelchair. And so they go to the motel. They're there. They decide that they're going to mail back the knife, the weapon. And so they mail that back to Nick's house in Wisconsin. You can see this here. They did not want to be, quote, caught with the weapon. But in fact, that's what ends up getting them caught.
They didn't really think
Nick's
that through.
Parents get the package and open it up, and they're confused on what it is.
It's a wild idea, but it just might work.
I don't know.
It's
a wild idea to bag up the knife and then send it back to your house. Yeah, it's a wild idea, all right.
And then on June 14th, I don't know, I asked you about this. There's a shared account between Gypsy Rose and her mom on Facebook, and that account starts posting very lewd and offensive messages about what was done to Gypsy Rose's mom, Dee Dee. And the family starts reacting to this, so do the neighbors, because it's very concerning what's being said on this Facebook page. And that is, in fact, when the police go and they find the body of Dee Dee Blanchard.
So the cops didn't find Dee Dee's body for
6 days.
Wow.
Or 5 days.
But almost a week.
Yeah.
So then the trail is pretty easily.
Then it all comes together.
So what happened to the boy?
So he is in jail for life. He is serving 2 terms, a life term, and then 25 years.
And what we're seeing here is this is when
These are the booking photos of the 2. Yeah, when they're arrested.
Oh wow. So that's her on the right?
Yes. So her mom was shaving her head so she would look like a cancer patient because she said she had leukemia.
So she came from a really awful abusive situation.
Really awful abusive
And now
situation.
she's out of prison having served her time?
So she served 8 of 10 years. She's out of prison. She has met a man and they are married. Yep. This is her husband, Ryan Scott Anderson. He is a special education teacher for middle school students from Louisiana. And he was dared by a friend, sort of, I won't go into many details, to write to her in prison. She responded. They got married last year in 2022.
Do they seem like they're in love, Courtney, or is this, did he just do it on a dare?
I mean, it started on a dare.
Oh, you're saying that they fell. Okay,
and then over years, they formed a relationship.
Does he have an issue that we need to know about? Vicky's asking, what's his issue?
Well, I mean, I don't.
We don't know.
I don't. I think I don't know if it's weird, but he's a special education student for middle school kids, and certainly she went through being treated like that for so long. I don't know. It seems,
maybe it ties in. Yeah, it's just the whole thing is pretty sad.
But no, she's an adult. I mean, granted, if you listen to her speak, she has a very young, very quiet sort of voice, which might be attributed to some of, obviously, the horrific abuse that was perpetrated to her when she was little. But she is an adult, but for much of her life, she thought she was 5 years younger than she actually was.
Just remarkable.
Which is just awful.
Just remarkable.
Yeah. So.
Well, that's the story of Gypsy Rose Blanchard. and another upbeat true crime tale.
Well, I mean, unfortunately, I come with
we know going in that
more
nothing
of the
good's going to
heavy,
happen.
topics. But this is certainly one that's happening right now. There's a lot going on. There's the Lifetime movie. She's written a book that's coming out this month. There's a special on A&E. So there's certainly places where you can find more information about the case.
That's Mark's True Crime Corner for today.
True Crime Corner, only on the Mark Thompson Show.
Courtney, I think you have delivered today, and you even delivered with the sharing of the George Santos.
Well, I felt under a time constraint, so I was sort of rushing through that.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, we're running late today, but it's really great that you came in, and I adore you, and I'm looking forward to a great year together.
Oh,
we
wow,
just came back from Central and South America,
did.
and I know there'll be.
And we didn't leave one person there.
We did not. We did not leave anyone. Left no one behind. Courtney, everybody. Thanks, Courtney.
Bye, Courtney.
Thank you. Bye. Hi. And bye, Kim. It's so good to see you.
The Mark Thompson Show.
I don't know. Tony, what do we do now?
Go to the guest.
Damn straight. That was the right answer. I knew what we were going to do. I was just testing you, Tony.
Thanks, Tony.
This is actually someone I really am looking forward to talking to. He's a guy who grew up in the Midwest, came out of an abusive situation, and he found, I suppose, well, I'll let him tell the story, but I was going to say found refuge in the world of alcohol, and that just he used that to, as so many of us do, he used that to as a palliative, as something to make him feel better, as almost a medicine, for whatever was going on inside. But he has totally reconstituted his life with, he's hip deep in psychology and research, and has done tremendous work. But his background is interesting, but also his book has a lot of funny in it, and it also debunks a lot of myths. So you're saying, Mark, just bring him on. Stop talking about it. All right, Dustin Dunbar, the author of You're Doing Great and Other Lies Alcohol Told Me. Even the title says it all. It's odd. You really visit the fact that you didn't have a sense that there was that you did feel better. And you suggest sort of in your book that there are cultural aspects to this, like the culture is telling you that this will make you feel better, or this will make you more of a man, or this will make you more. Speak to that too. There's a lot in your book, Dustin.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me on, Mark. And yeah, this is consciousness. Consciousness is everything. And Carl Jung, started the whole collective unconscious, and we have come into this world that is addicted to alcohol, and it is a collective unconscious illusion, lie, that it benefits us in any way. And I had it, all my friends have had it, everybody I talk to is like, yeah, I've always thought that drinking, moderately, responsibly, and socially was totally fine. And that's what I did. I was like, doing great. I grew up really poor in the Midwest, Oklahoma, and then got into sales and just had tons of money flowing, and CEOs are flying me around on these beautiful golf courses, and they're making me do, tequila shots with them. And I'm up in first class thinking I'm drinking the champagne and living this amazing life. Right. And it just alcohol keeps lying to me. And gradually I just got addicted. Like with any addictive substance, after a while, it doesn't matter if you're the biggest, toughest rugby player, in the world, and you will at some point get addicted to an addictive substance. So yeah,
when you talk about addiction, just to draw that out a little bit, you are addicted in what way? Like, meaning, are you fall down drunk addicted? Are you just, I need a shot when I wake up in the morning, I need a shot with lunch? Or tell us how that addiction manifested in your life.
Yeah, I was never the, grab the bottle underneath the kitchen sink kind of person. There's different levels of addictions. There's mild, medium, and severe. 90% of the people who are addicted to alcohol are not in that severe level. There's that 10% that we think, oh, the old school term alcoholic, that kind of thing. But this is what I'm talking is just using it as a crutch, using it as insecurities, using it for whenever, we don't feel good. Like just like when you were a kid and you had a blanket and you reach for comfort because you have anxiety or pain going on psychologically. And the thing that everybody keeps telling us, the 5 ads per day that big alcohol puts out, everybody in your life is like, oh, socially, and you see your grandparents, you see your priests, everybody's doing it. And it's like, we got to get to this where this is ethanol, the exact same thing. Alcohol and ethanol are the exact same thing. This is a highly 100% addictive liquid that we've got to start seeing it just like we do cigarettes. So hopefully we're going to start having that cigarette moment.
Yeah, this is a really good point you make. It's a tough one because, these certain cultural norms, as you know, are just almost impossible to shake. And we'll get, so that's my comment on the side, although, because I want to concentrate on your story, but your story speaks so brilliantly to that and the comment on the side and the way it's baked into the culture as a positive or as an accepted thing. So, you really were living high. I mean, living high on the, meaning high in society, upper, kind of the upper tier of what you'd want in your life, right? What was take us to the reckoning?
Yeah, so it was a gradual, slow drip process where I just had bad things. I look back at my life and I'm like, okay, what parts have been not good? And every time,
exactly. If anybody shouldn't be easing pain, it's you. Tell everybody what you were doing. I mean, you mentioned it. You were with CEOs. You worked with Ryan's company. Ryan
Seacrest Productions. Yeah, they selected me as the LA Shrink. I mean, I had stuff. I was a model. I was an international male model in Milan. And I mean, you name it. My life has been amazing, but it's that whole cultural thing of, I did a year of being alcohol free when I was about 24 years old for my looks, because I wanted to have abs whenever I was modeling underwear in Milan and on stage and everything. And after that year, everybody was like, hey, the models and stuff, the vodka and the martinis. And I was in Italy, and guess how many abs I had after I started drinking again?
Right.
Like 1, and it was a big one.
But you realized I got to get off this stuff for more than just its physical effects.
Yeah, it's all psychological. So scientifically, it's 10 days that alcohol is actually in your body that after you stop drinking. After that, it's all 100% psychological cravings. And I was doing it because, like you were saying, abusive growing up father who was also addicted to alcohol. And I was masking that abandonment pain, and I didn't know it. I'd gotten my doctorate in psychology, thought I had done all the work, everything, and had no clue that I was masking this with this substance. And then whenever I took the Band-Aid off, there was this huge pain and scar, if you will, from childhood trauma, and it just surfaced. And so it took me a good...
And when it surfaced, how did it surface?
Yeah, it surfaced in tons of anxiety. So I had what I would call an existential crisis, a spiritual awakening mixed with psychosis. It was a 3-day event that it bubbled and it got me. And that was after I was alcohol free for about, I would say 30 days. And I was like, wow. I mean, it smashed me in the face. But to this day, it's the best thing that ever happened to me, because I am now able to look in the mirror and deal with this without reaching for joy at the bottom of a bottle. And that joy that I speak of is deep within me and beautiful, and it's eternal and love. And that is that joy that Jesus spoke about whenever he said that children, your consciousness needs to be like children to enter the gates of heaven. And that joy, if you look back at your life and our lives, I bet you see that whenever you were anywhere from like age 5 to about 12, your joy was just bursting and you're flying around dancing wherever you wanted to, weddings, all this stuff. But then alcohol gets involved and we think, and the ego, and we sit there and go, we got insecurities, we got to mask it, we got to reach for comfort. And the only comfort that's socially accepted these days at social events and even promoted and pushed on you like crazy is this ethanol. So to remove that and to have this beautiful childlike consciousness and joy now within me that is just incredible is the best thing. And I'm just so happy that I'm where I am now.
Yeah, like, I mean, it's certainly true. I mean, I would say to you that you're right. The joy of a child seems unencumbered by a lot of things that you know, as you grow up, you sadly become saddled with. I'd also say, though, that, you know, a lot of us grow up with anxiety. You did. I mean, your childhood, you know, you can think back. I'm sure there were joyous moments, but if you're living in an abusive household, you live with anxiety. That's why that anxiety came up in adulthood, right? So I always feel as though we can recreate our present in our own way without having to, as you say, with eliminating those things. Toxins are a big part of our lives, and toxins can be human, right? We can have people around us that are toxic, you know. But I love your story for the battle that you waged and how in control you thought you were, and then you realize, well, wait a minute, I'm not in control. I mean, this is I'm still a slave to this thing, to this substance.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where you just have to be so careful, because I know myself. I was blessed with a beautiful athletic body. I played college basketball. I didn't have any defects, you know, that they talk about. AA, you know, still holds on to the theory that it is only a certain class of people who get addicted. We got to scream from the mountaintops. All the new science out there, it's just saying blaringly that with the CT scans in the brain, that alcohol is 100% addictive to everybody, and we must treat it with so much respect. So that's what I'm doing.
So let me ask you in our last couple of minutes, you know, AA has been around for a long, long time. A lot of people who are not religious, okay, Dustin, there are many people who don't believe that there's a God that exists, and they're not part of any organized religion, yet they're really, you know, fine citizens, and they want to see an end to this addiction that they're experiencing. But AA doesn't work for them because AA is underpinned a little bit by what they would consider sort of religious notes. It's possible to get rid of this stuff, to change your life without having to, you know, embrace some religious doctrine.
Yeah, I go into this heavily in detail in my book, but the point I want to make first is becoming alcohol-free is not a competition. And whatever you need to do it, make it happen. AA is free. We are the AFR.org is the where I have my nonprofit organization that I created with a bunch of coaches and things like that. And it's free. So try whatever you want to try and get out there. With it free, just try it. If it resonates for you, great. AA did not resonate for me. It resonated for my brother. It helped my grandfather. So I have nothing but love, admiration, and respect for all AA members and what they've done. I just really want them to look at the science now and know that this is 100% addictive to everybody. And we got to stop telling people that it's certain defective people, that it's an allergy, and really look at that and evolve from the science of 1935 with what they had to now of what we're seeing with alcohol and ethanol.
You know, I love that you've put this together, and we're getting a lot of reaction in the chat. You may want to go back if you're listening to read some of these chat comments because they're good. AA is a tool. It's not an end-all solution. Every meeting and culture is different. As our sponsors, they have AA for atheists too. If you look it up, AA is one tool of many. Dustin's, again, we'll post it in the description if you want to just click through to Dustin's site. So many different ways. And as you say, the key is, hey, do what works. It doesn't have to be one solution. Here's a sad one. My youngest brother self-medicates as well, but with weed. He can't seem to function without it. He becomes abusive if you try to point it out. We no longer know what to do. It's very hard from the outside. I mean, this is one thing, Dustin, you realized your problem. But if it was somebody else, your wife or family, trying to say, hey, you've got a problem, sometimes that goes sideways.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like mixing oil with water. Once you reach a certain level of consciousness, and let's say you stop drinking, you can see where you were at with your partner, and you guys had this symbiotic relationship going on with that particular drug, whatever it may be. and you see the light and they haven't reached that point yet, it's very difficult. But we just, with coaching, it's all about setting boundaries and knowing where your boundary is and being very communicative, and where they understand, you understand, instead of hiding it and being resentful and angry. And one of the big things we say at the Revolution is anytime there's any kind of resentment or anger, just know that's a clear sign of boundary issues. And we need to get in there and help you communicate that. And so see it as yourself, your responsibility. So in your case, I would say, just keep setting boundaries and keep saying, hey, keep communicating, because you love your brother and you want to see him do the best he can.
The book is You're Doing Great and Other Lies Alcohol Told Me. Interesting to read from someone who has had so much and yet ended up in this place. And then that journey of self-discovery. I mean, it's really empowering in a way, in a lot of ways, because you realize that, you can do it. But you don't have to do it yourself. And again, I applaud you for wearetheafr.org, and we'll have a hot link to our to that in our description. Dustin, good luck with the book, and congrats, my friend.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you so much for having me on. Thank you for the support.
Of course. Dustin Dunbar, everybody. Right on.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Yeah. It's it's brutal. It's brutal how that takes control of your life, whatever it might be. It doesn't have to be an hallucinogen, or it doesn't have to be alcohol, Now, Tony and Kim.
Yes.
First, I'd like to acknowledge that I got us back on time. Can I get a...
Do you know who I am?
Yes, okay.
I'm kind of a big deal.
Thank you. We are back on time. And again, we don't really have a clock per se, but we have a rough clock. So, what would we'd like to do now? We'd like to go to Kim's news, wouldn't you? Don't you think?
Thanks, Tony.
Right, Tony?
Sure.
I wanted to see if there was anything else before I get to Kim's news.
We didn't do the story you wanted to do at the top. If you want to do it now.
Yeah, right. Thank you. That's the kind of thinking we need more of on this
Thanks,
show.
Tony.
No, I sent a bunch of stuff. I wanted to do it.
You sent me a bunch of stuff last night.
Well, I'll tell you, the wife of 49ers star designs Taylor Swift's Chiefs jacket. Kristen Juszczyk. That's right. She's the wife of Kyle. Helped Taylor Swift take on Kansas City's bitter cold with one of her custom puffer coats.
It was a cute jacket.
Yep. And it was made by Juszczyk's wife. Very cool. Kristen. So there's that story I wanted to share. We have a lot of 49er fans here because we came out of a San Francisco radio show originally, just to explain to a lot of people why I might do some Bay Area stuff. We feel very strong ties to the Bay Area. There's Taylor.
Yeah, it's a cute jacket.
It's very cute. She's very cute. They're very cute. Hope they last. You think they're going to last, Kim?
I hope so. I'd like to see her find a guy that, doesn't cheat on her or do something rotten to end up in a song. I want a happy ending for her.
Yeah, right. I
don't mean that kind of happy ending. I mean a happy ending,
Right, of course. You want the two of them to have a big Hollywood ending that they have kids.
She finds. I hope that she finds happiness. Yeah.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
I'd heard, because I like to get the dirt. I heard that she's there, and it's very cool. She's there with the Kelseys, I believe. The
right
family.
Next to the mom there. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the mom. That he and I don't mean to look. I don't mean to talk trash. Okay, so maybe
There it is.
Maybe she'll write a happy song about him. Steve says. I heard that he wants to really enter the showbiz world and sees himself maybe in the WWE. You know what I mean? In the next chapter after football. Now, he's in a lot of spots. He's in a lot of, he's doing quite well. But, you do have to worry about the next chapter. Yeah. Rob Gronkowski is in every other commercial. He's the guy who
he did
played
WWE for a while too.
And yeah, so there you go. So maybe it's a tried and true journey. But those who are cynical about the relationship say, "Oh, he's only using her because he wants to break even bigger beyond football." Maybe. I don't know. But that's what I heard. We will see. I, with you, Kim, am hoping that those two
I hope
kids.
it all works out for them. Yeah.
Yeah. They seem like good kids. Kim's news. And then we get a word about animals. I'm still working with this new configuration, Tony, of the, where the screen is. It's here and the chat's there. I hope it works. I don't know. It feels like things are a little too
Well, the camera and chat should be in line with each other.
Yeah,
right?
they are. They are. But because everything's because I'm so close, it magnifies my head movements. Not that it matters, but I don't know. This is the crap I worry about.
What's happening?
Mark, you're that worried about it? You don't put any makeup on. You don't do anything. Oh, my God. Maybe you should. And yet you're worried about where your head movements are?
You just ask chat. What does chat think?
I've got my own issues.
We'll wait.
I need another book. When is Dustin going to do another book that will address my issues? All right. Smash the like button. Thanks for being here on MLK Day. Mark Thompson Show.
The Mark Thompson Show.
On the Mark Thompson Show, I'm Kim McAllister. Let's go back to the story we talked about a little bit earlier. This is that plane that was found off the coast of Half Moon Bay. You can see part of the wreckage there found on the shoreline on the coast of Half Moon Bay. This plane went down on Sunday night. The wreckage found yesterday right off Moss Beach. The drone search that went on found the possible wreckage in the water, and then the aircraft was first located upside down on its head. So they don't know, the officials with the Coast Guard, how many people were aboard or who was aboard this plane. But they were searching and searching and searching until this morning. And now the Coast Guard has suspended the search for survivors in this Half Moon Bay crash. So that is the latest on that. In Iowa, the Republican presidential candidates are making their final pushes hours before the Iowa caucuses close out. Nikki Haley said Americans would rather talk about issues like the economy and not about whether somebody's MAGA or not. The caucuses could be impacted by the very, very cold weather, with the temperatures with wind chill expected to be 30 degrees below zero. So super, super chilly in this area. Much of the country does remain in the deep freeze today. About 100 million people are under some sort of wind chill alert. The Pacific Northwest, the Midwest, and the Northeast are all expected to see snow this week. And flights continue to be impacted by winter weather as well into the United States. According to flight tracker FlightAware, so far today, there have been more than 2,400 flights now canceled and more than 5,900 delayed. Chicago Midway, Chicago O'Hare, and Dallas Fort Worth and Denver International are among those that are the most impacted. And Boeing is now taking a pretty hard look at quality control, you think, after a door plug blew open on an Alaska Airlines flight. The company is planning additional inspections for its 737 MAX planes. In an email to employees, the CEO of Boeing's commercial airplane division, Stan Deal, said he'll bring in an outside party to make assessments now on the quality management system. Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin released from the hospital. He was admitted to Walter Reed National Military Medical Center 2 weeks ago due to complications from prostate cancer surgery. Lawmakers are demanding answers about why the White House and the Congress were not initially notified about that hospitalization. Mean Girls is making Fetch happen at the box office. The adaptation of the Broadway musical, based on the 2004 teen classic, beat expectations and raked in $33.2 million over the 4-day MLK holiday weekend. Meanwhile, Jason Statham's The Beekeeper took in $19 million in its debut. I don't know if you can help me rally a picture of this one, Tony. This year's Miss America winner is an Air Force pilot. Yeah.
Tony, you better be able to get a picture of Miss
I know.
America.
Give me a picture of her.
Otherwise,
Second
it's
Lieutenant.
yeah.
Second Lieutenant Madison Marsh was crowned during last night's pageant in Florida. She's 22 years old.
Girl, you just woo.
She was Miss Colorado. She's a Colorado native, and she is a graduate of the United States Air Force Academy. She becomes the first ever active duty officer to win the title of Miss America. She is also a master's student in public policy at the Harvard Kennedy School.
My God, that's amazing. Are you kidding?
Oh my God.
I know. That's impressive. She is beautiful on the inside and the outside. I still can't decide what's more important. If I was given a choice, you can only be beautiful on one, inside or outside.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, to be honest, I'd choose outside.
Why are you yelling?
Yeah, I really would. I'd choose outside.
I mean, look how different she looks when she has no makeup on and she's in the cockpit or whatever. And then she's
adorbs. I love her.
She's beautiful either way and wildly successful. And if you're going to have a Miss America, why not have a Miss America that believes in America so much they would be part of the armed services?
Oh, my God. That is the jingoism and the patriotism, somewhere between it. Why not have a Miss America who herself sacrifices for America?
I'm just saying.
I don't know if I mean, it's a beauty pageant. If you want to have a pageant among people who are in the military, let's have that. I mean, I wouldn't, I agree she's done good things with her life.
Yeah.
But I don't, somebody who's gone to the military, I don't give necessarily more credit. No, let me finish.
Mm-hmm.
I don't give.
Can you let him finish, sir?
I don't give them necessarily more credence or currency toward the crown of Miss America than I do someone who works with charity, maybe works with cancer, but whatever, or starting their own business, whatever. My point is, she's made a choice to be in the military. I don't go, right on, right choice, more American than I am. Mm-hmm. Not necessarily. Yes, this is true. I can't put the comment on because I'll be completely demonetized, and I'll probably be completely demonetized already because of the true crime today. But the military's got issues with women, and
absolutely it does.
They're cleaning it up, and I actually like that she has a connection to the military, maybe to shed light on some of those as well. But she looks like Gwen Stefani, says Julie. That's interesting. Do you think? Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't see that. She's beautiful, though.
Maybe she is. She is gorgeous. If you like that kind of thing, she's gorgeous.
If you like gorgeous, you don't like gorgeous. Okay. Yeah. Again, she's 22, and she was Miss Colorado, and she is now Miss America, and she's an Air Force pilot. So there.
She's my fave Army Black Hawk pilot, says Michael.
She's like Captain America in a dress.
We've got to move you out. We got to move your whole unit out. We don't have much time. Can I wait a couple more minutes for her helicopter to be free?
No, you have to take the helicopter.
This is the only rescue mission there'll be, aside from the ones flown by Miss America.
No.
Very cool. It's funny. It's a good distraction, that Miss America thing. So thank you for that.
This report is sponsored by Coachella Valley Coffee. Yep, it's good coffee. And
I'm drinking it right now, baby.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. You put it in your Mark Thompson Show mug as featured here, and it just tastes even better. Look at that.
Featured here. This mug, Kim, as I've told you before and told the audience, I bought this diner mug, and I put the Mark Thompson Show sticker on it to give it kind of the captain's mug quality.
Sure,
I think we have black. Our official mugs are the black mugs, and I still have the broken mug, which will go into some kind of. Anyway, I didn't mean to distract you, to throw you off during.
Hey, do what you got to do.
Yeah,
you can find a huge selection of coffees and teas. It's just a treat for you. CoachellaValleyCoffee.com, and you get your exclusive 10% discount for being a Mark Thompson Show listener by putting in Mark T at checkout and enjoying the good stuff.
And I will tell you, and I say it every time Kim says anything about Coachella, best coffee I've ever had. And we still get people send me other coffees and try this coffee, try that coffee. I'll try them. I mean, I'm not like, but I'm telling you, Coachella Valley Coffee, they have a great selection. As you know, they are socially conscious. They fund a lot of female, generally women-run businesses in Central, South America, also in Africa. But were that just the case, I wouldn't tell you that it tastes great. I would just go, oh, they're socially conscious. I mean, I'm not going to steer you wrong on this. People have been blown away by it. So order anything you want on the site, as much as you want, and use the 10% discount, Mark T, at checkout. And right on.
Right on. I'm Kim McAllister. This is The Mark Thompson Show.
They had to close down an entire radio station to silence him. And now, he's here. Ladies and gentlemen, Mark Thompson. Feel it in your soul. The Mark Thompson Show.
Who's Mark Thompson?
Hey, which one of you is Mark Thompson?
%100% effective. How about that?
There is no defense for my conduct.
Good day, sir!
Joe Fish, Sal the Shoemaker, Joe Box, and Little Anthony.
Mo Black's brother, Fat Andy.
Why are you yelling?
Smash it with your iron rod.
Seriously, what the?
It's fantastic.
What up, everybody? It is Monday. Monday, we like to visit with someone who keeps track of a lot of different things when it relates to the animal kingdom. And we'll check in with her in a moment. We do this segment regularly. It's a segment we call A Word About Animals.
Now, a word about animals on the Mark Thompson Show.
And how about it for Karen Dawn? She of Dawn Watch. Dawn Watch is animal-related news. You'll find her robust Facebook page, and you'll also find her across the internet, so you can Google Dawn Watch and read her stuff. She has a newsletter, and I subscribe to it. I encourage you to as well. It keeps track of animal stories and also the way animals are reported in the media. Karen, hello. Welcome. Thank you for getting I guess you got a new mic and everything. I don't know, something. They tell me you're all set. Well, it's
just
not.
Kidding. Just kidding.
Just kidding. Very funny. Very good. Thank you. We live on the edge, so you do sound good.
Greetings
Tell
from
us,
the deep freeze.
Yes. I know it's cold where you are. Tell us what you've got today.
Well, a couple of things. Before we get to our main story, I had to share with you that in the Los Angeles Times today, there's a story on whether wind turbines or fracking kills more birds. And I thought I had to share that with Mark because he'll be so happy to hear that it's not about cats.
It's not about cats. Birds are being killed everywhere, huh? And
Exactly.
what was wind turbines are not good for birds. That's for sure.
But you know what? Fracking's worse, and the amount of bad play that wind turbines get, it's probably mostly thanks to advertising and social media push by people who are against clean energy.
Yeah, I mean, this is important just because you mentioned it, and from the article. Oil and gas drilling is worse for birds than wind power, and that's without even getting into the consequences of burning fossil fuels. Audubon scientists have estimated that nearly 2/3 of North American bird species could go extinct if humanity doesn't accelerate its transition from planet-warming fuels to climate-friendly energy like wind and solar. And fracking may be especially bad for avian life, they say.
Right.
In important bird areas identified by the this Audubon Society, in those habitats, Christmas bird count numbers fell even more dramatically after oil and gas wells were drilled. So species diversity fell too. So just a note on it, rather than just the headline. I just wanted to mention.
Really appreciate that.
Yeah.
And, to me, the main thing I was struck by when I read this was, because wind turbines aren't good either. And I think what we have to just start realizing is that, with 10 billion people close to on the planet, we have got to start changing our behavior, not just looking for a magic bullet to keep doing exactly what we're doing. And then hope that we find the exact energy solve that allow us to, lead these lavish lifestyles, because whatever solution we're looking for is going to have some problems. And I just think we need to take it down a little bit. As Ed Begley Jr. used to always say, live simply so that others may simply live. And those others might be other people, and they might be the species we share the planet with.
Well, sadly, I think that baked into the species is, wanting to, and certainly baked into the culture is wanting conveniences and to, build technologies and other aspects of society that provide a decent lifestyle and as big a lifestyle as you can possibly get. I also
decent
think,
and as big as you can get aren't necessarily the same thing, though. And that's what I think we just have to be a little aware of.
That's what I'm saying. But I guess, look, I'm with you. I'll tell you what, I'd walk to work even if it were 3.5 miles or whatever, if that's the way society's set up. It's not. It's set up so, you can drive, your wife can drive, your kid can drive, you all have cars, and, the skidoos are in the back. I mean, and you could say, well, that's just that's excessive. And I don't know. The way the culture is set up, that's the way it's set up. It would take a true rebooting and reckoning of the culture to change that. I'm
up for a rebooting, and I just want to,
it's a consumer
start
society,
putting that
I know.
message out there a little bit. I told you I'm in the deep freeze. I'm in Austin at the moment, and it was 16 degrees when I woke up this morning, and it's not going to go above freezing for a couple of days. And it's me and the doggies in this rather nice sized house. So I just don't have the heating on all through the house. And sure, it saves money, but I'm blessed. I can actually afford my heating bill. That's not why I think. I mean, I have, of course, some heat on throughout the house. I misspoke there, because otherwise the pipes will freeze. But I don't have the whole house at 65 or 70, because we're just in this one room. And just thinking that way, that you don't need to be blasting heat through a large house when you're only using one room. If people started to think more that way, rather than let's find the perfect clean energy solution, rather than thinking let's use a little bit less energy, because the amount of energy and resources that the human species takes up on this planet is just so outsized.
And sadly, the world. This is a part of a much longer conversation, but the worldview that I think society generally has is a fairly small one. Let's move back, if we can, in a more focused way, anyway. Although everything you just mentioned does affect animals, so I understand why you mentioned
it.
Absolutely. So this is pretty good news that I saw, and it's also kind of weird. I'll get to the weirdness in a second. There is a major shift in Korea, a place where it has always been okay to have dogs on the menu, and they have these dog, what you can tell us, compounds where they raise these things in horrible conditions, the same kind of horrible conditions that all animals are raised for food. But then they have even worse aspects to the dog stuff as they serve it. You can touch on this and speak to it. Go ahead.
Sure. So, big story broke last week, actually, that Korea had banned dog meat farms starting 2027. I think they're all going to be completely gone. The Los Angeles Times was slower to pick up the story and did a better job of it, as I mentioned to you earlier, that it's on page 2 of the LA Times today, a big lead story. And the difference in the LA Times coverage was that they interviewed people who really looked at the speciesism of suggesting that it's somehow worse to kill dogs for meat than it is to kill other animals. And I think, Mark, what you were getting at just now is some of the stories that have come out is that they torture the dogs before they kill them. That has probably happened. There might have been a farm or two that were doing it. That might have been something that people were doing. But the impression I get the more I've read and studied is that more of those reports have to do with people coming to terms with making excuses for why they're against dog meat and not against cow meat or bird meat. And anybody who's done any research on farming here, as you just mentioned, and as the Los Angeles Times mentions, but not many places will mention, is that the way we keep birds and pigs, etc., isn't really any better than the way Koreans were keeping dogs. And even with, there were stories coming out that, the dogs would be blowtorched because it would make the meat taste better. That might have happened once or twice. But as you have mentioned in our segment before, in the United States, the humane slaughter law doesn't cover birds, and they are 98% of the land animals used for food in this country. And that means a lot of them get boiled alive, because what happens is they get put on these conveyor belts in the slaughterhouse. They're hung upside down, and a knife is supposed to slash their throat so that they bleed out, and then they get dipped into an electrified stunning vat, and then they get dumped into hot boiling water to be defeatherized. But the birds who are hung upside down and are struggling to get up, well, their necks miss that slash. And so by the time they get into the boiling hot water vats, they are still completely conscious. And the Washington Post covered this and said it happens to about 1 million birds a year. So this whole idea that, the dogs are tortured in Korea, unlike the animals we eat here, there's not a whole lot of truth about it. There's probably some xenophobia in there. And there's kind of, excuses being made for why we we think we have the right to tell Koreans what to eat. Now, all that said, anybody who watches this segment regularly, who's seen me on my couch rather than on this office chair today, knows that I usually have dogs on my lap. I'm mad about them. Of course, I understand why we don't want dogs killed for meat. But I was so happy that the Los Angeles Times, did bring up this question of, well, is it necessarily any different? And what I have to point out, they actually quoted Peter Singer as saying it's just speciesism, but then he said, but still, it may do some good that they've been banned. The truth is, though, unless we think that anybody who was eating dog meat is now going to be suddenly picking up plant-based alternatives rather than going for pigs or cows or turkeys or chickens, I think it's worth saying, well, how much good does it do? And I, of course, I come from a vegan perspective. That's my way of eating. And I don't tell other people what to eat. People come to things in their own time and do what agrees with their own values. But I do like to challenge, the mainstream narrative of, this is so exciting. And it's like, well, not if you're a cow or a turkey or a pig and I sent you guys some video. I hope Tony has it.
Yeah, before we get to it, I just want to take this on. Another aspect of halal meat, I guess that's kosher meat, right? Is the animals are not supposed to be killed in front of other animals, a holy meat or some religious, I thought that it was kosher, but maybe something. At the mass-produced halal farms, I doubt this is happening, says Lanzetta. There is I hate that we do get into this, but we get out of it, which is the good news. Some of the specifics, you just know, I'm better, I don't want to know this, I know it's bad, but there's a total myth that there is some humane slaughter going on associated with kosher meat or halal. It's BS. There is no humane slaughter. Okay, there just isn't. Straight, full stop. I don't want to talk about it now because I don't want to. I don't want to get into how gruesome it is. But I'm
going to insist on answering that without getting into how gruesome it is. But I just want to say that with kosher meat, which I know more about than halal meat, but I think they are very similar.
What is halal? I'm sorry. Then tell me what halal is. Educate me.
Halal is the Muslim version, but it comes from the same biblical laws.
Thank you.
Similar,
sorry, guys. I wasn't aware. Islamic food. I see. Okay.
They're not killed at traditional slaughterhouses.
Okay.
And I know with kosher meat that there are laws that say that the animal has to be totally conscious and killed with one clean slice to the neck. And the whole idea of totally conscious was that you weren't allowed to abuse your animals to the point of death and then slaughter them. So it really came from a good place. The Bible is full of all sorts of laws that protect animals. And that's where the whole idea of kosher meat came from. The problem is, as society evolved and we came up with things like stunners, by when obeying the letter of the law rather than the spirit of the law, kosher meat does not allow the use of stunners. So the animals have to be completely conscious right up to the moment they're killed. So it ends up being crueler than other meat, even though that absolutely was not the intention. So that's something worth people knowing. Yeah.
No, I did not. And I didn't. I mean, I kind of knew the broad strokes, but didn't know. All right, then. Is that it for today, or that's good news?
No, I just want. Well, it's interesting, but I have to ask you why. Why is it good news about the bar dog? Just because we like dogs?
Yeah, I think it. I think that's one reason.
Bad news for the cows, and I do want that video that I sent along with Tony. Of the
if there's
cows.
no music on it, Tony, we can play it.
We'll play it without the music. I think he's actually playing the guitar for his cow, but we don't have to hear what he's playing. But
Here
it's
is the thing that Karen sent.
A picture paints 1,000 words.
I guess if it's if it's the guitar, I guess it's fine.
This
I
is
don't
fine.
know.
Yeah, he's certainly not going to mind. It's the folks at this lovely sanctuary. And so when somebody's saying it's such good news that we're not eating dogs, I don't know if Jenna would agree. That's Jenna on his shoulder there. So... That's all. This picture paints 1,000 words.
It's all the same.
He's pretty good, actually. I was kind of into him. Tony, this is your music.
Thanks, Tony.
I'm loving it. All right, so look, I'll tell you why I am for the dog meat ban. Because the opposite is bad. Okay, so if you want, then. I like the idea that slowly, maybe species by species, we're realizing that something is cruel. I get it. You might say, Mark, it's not because of the cruelty. It's because dogs are the thing that we all just have, anthropomorphized, and we have them sitting around a poker table, and we've got them, you know what I mean? We've created this aura around dogs.
I hate that word anthropomorphism, but Jonathan Franzen.
You hate so much, Karen. It's very hard for me to keep track of the list of things you hate. Why do you hate anthropomorphism?
Wait, before we go there, I just want to keep this point. Last week we talked about Jonathan Franzen's article in the New Yorker about cats killing birds. And it's an article I really loved, even though I love cats. But one of the points he made, which we might have mentioned, is that the folks from Best Friends are saying, oh, it's so great that we're, if we can stop people from killing cats, we can really that'll be extrapolated so that they don't kill other animals. And Franzen said, really, will it? Or have we really just made dogs and cats into honorary humans? And that's my concern, is that when we celebrate they're no longer killing dogs in Korea, is that just because to us dogs are honorary humans?
Yeah, I mean, you make a good argument. It may be just that. So bring on the killing, I say. Go ahead, everybody, bring them on in. Yeah, I know. It's a very tough issue. Now you can move on to anthropomorphize. Tell me why you don't like that.
Oh, we've discussed this before, I'm sure, but that people talk about anthropomorphization. I can't even say it. You're going to have to say it for me every time. It's a word that's just so overused and misused because, sure, occasionally we do that. We in fact, you know what? That's funny. I was going to share a video and maybe I'll bring it on next week. Oh, Tidy Mouse. I'm going to talk about Tidy Mouse next week and we'll talk about anthropomorphism. But people are suggesting that this adorable little mouse is tidying up this man's shed. No, far more likely the mouse is hiding the bird seed that he has in this thing that he's putting it into. So we are giving the mouse intentions that the mouse probably doesn't have. But what we rarely do, which we get accused of doing, is giving animals emotions that they don't really have, because they do share all of our emotions. And this idea, it used to be you couldn't say an animal was happy. You had to say they are experiencing positive emotional states or something like that. Anybody who lives with dogs and cats, because they are our little ambassadors to the animal world, know that, of course, dogs can be happy, and of course they look forward to things, and of course they can be sad. And that word anthropomorphization is so widely misapplied and over-applied. Far more likely is for us to be using anthropocentrism, which is pretending that we have
that's good.
emotions that are
Once
totally
again, I'm
different
corrected
from,
by Karen. Very, very. I won't do it again. Yeah, I get the whip. I absolutely get the whip.
Do you
make
feel
a very
whipped,
good,
Mark?
as usual. You make very good arguments for everything that you point out. Karen Dawn is the person behind Dawn Watch, and you can find daily animal world news there.
Watch, yeah.
At Daily Animal World News Watch. Okay. You can find news there every time you check. You can find her Facebook page and, of course, the web page.
Sign up for alerts at dawnwatch.com.
Yeah, do sign up for the alerts. I find the information really helpful. That's why I invited her on the show, because I thought maybe some of the information would be useful to our audience. Karen, thank you. Have a good week. We'll talk next week. Karen Dawn, everybody. Bye-bye. That is a word about animals for today.
Join the flock. Again next time for a word about animals on the Mark Thompson Show.
Yeah, very hard for me there, Here I am, this big mega vegan. Yet I can't, I'm stepping in it constantly, even talking to Karen Dawn. Edward Lee, who are we to say the cats ought not to be consumed by people in India? Would you eat a cat or starve to death? Or let your children starve to death? Yeah. Well, I mean, if the question is, would you, if there's another person in the room and you've got your kids there, I'm guessing, after a month and a half or 2 months, you guys might make a deal to one of these sacrifices for the other. I don't know. My point is these situations where if you're going to starve to death or whatever, okay, that's an extreme situation. Although I take your point, Edward, which is, there are this is what this is all about. There are cultural biases, and that's the reason that this dog thing resonates with us, because of our cultural bias. As she would say, Karen would say, we just kind of, in a way, we bestowed upon dogs and cats the protection of humanity, when the reality is that they're animals, just like the chickens, just like the cow. That was that whole routine. But when you say, tell me, would you do this, or would you and your family starve to death? All right, that is really an extreme hypothetical. That's all I'm saying. Chris, super sticker. Come on, Chris. Big shout out.
Big shout out.
Thank you, Chris. I love the picture in Chris's super sticker, too. Very, very cool. Thank you. We're crowdfunded, so we appreciate the shouts. We appreciate the both live and delayed. You can, in delay, when you're watching a video back, you can make a contribution to the show in YouTube as well, that little heart with the $sign. If you want to support the show, join our community. Visit themarkthompsonshow.com. There at themarkthompsonshow.com, you have to put the in there. Otherwise, you'll end up at somebody else's site named Mark Thompson. You'll click Patreon or PayPal, and you will be taken to a world of fabulousness. And you can be part of our community. Somebody else had something I wanted to see if I don't think Tony is a Bon Jovi fan. Said
Thanks, Tony.
I think Ms. Organic is onto something. Is that right, Tony? You don't respect Bon Jovi?
They're fine. Just not my thing at all.
Knit1 says, Mark,
guitarist,
almost at 20,000 subscribers. Wait till he gets to 100,000 and gets the YouTube plaque. Wow. I hope I make it that long. Thank you for that. Big shout out.
Big shout out.
Yeah, please share the show. It was asked, Kim.
Yeah.
I was asked to take the Meet the Houthis video. Remember we explained about the Houthi rebels and make it a short, and that people would share it if I would make it a short. So over the weekend, while everybody's enjoying their weekend, we made it a short.
Okay.
And if you want to share it, it's there under shorts. Meet the Houthi rebels. It tells you about the Houthi rebels, and it also, as I say, it's kind of done in with a chocolatey shell, a sweet shell. So, and thank you to our new Patreon subscribers. I will acknowledge you all tomorrow. We're running a little bit late, aren't we? Are you doing a show today or not?
Yeah.
Oh, you are? Wow.
Yeah.
Look at you, hardworking Kim.
Hey.
She worked at Nikki's show, and she's doing the after party live next. I'm excited about that.
Yeah.
It's sometimes what I need to decompress,
We'll do it live.
Yeah.
It's all right.
I really
We'll
do
do
like
it
that.
live.
I know. Yeah. Tony, I think you've done well today. I want to give you a. Oh, you're not happy with your. Oh. Well, we can bring it up at your evaluation.
Yes, no.
Kim, I thought you're always great. You were really terrific today.
Kim, how are you?
Yeah. I know we had a lot in today's show. Kim, tell the boys and girls what's on tomorrow's show. David K. Johnston, the Pulitzer Prize winner, will be here.
And we have, I believe it's David K. Johnston and Jefferson Graham, right?
Jefferson Graham, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
Looking forward to that. And... oh, that's Rich tomorrow. I knew it was something.
I'm Shadow Stevens for the Mark Thompson Show. Bye-bye.
Guys, That's Rich looks back at the last year. You'll love what we do.
Bye-bye.
You'll love it. See you guys tomorrow. Till then, bye-bye.